little technical restart.
I think he said we're good.
She can do that.
Can you see me?
I think so. Right?
Is that a thumbs up? Yeah, looking.
I like your cut, homie.
We're good. Action. Okay. All right. That's my cue.
That was her hello to daddy.
I have a gavel and I'm ready to use it.
No, I haven't touched it.
That's funny.
All right, you guys ready?
Are you gonna hit it?
I'm going to hit it.
Okay.
Very ceremonious. Hereby call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Kill Hills Board of Commissioners. Will you please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was looking at you. He did it quick. You don't go-
On the Outer Banks, we're all like 1/2 of 1 degree separated from each other. You know, if I don't know you, I know 4 or 5 people that do know you. You know, we're all that close. So I was thinking before we go into a moment of silence that there are a number of people in the community, some here in Kill Hill, some friends around in other places, but folks that are struggling recently, diagnoses that you don't want to get, and car wrecks and all sorts of things that, and I don't know who's overlapping with whom, but if you know who I'm talking about, great. If it's somebody that I don't know about, think about them, but we'll take a couple moments to think about those who are having a tough time today. So join me for a moment of silence. Thank you so much for that. We have an agenda before you. Thoughts? Motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second?
Second that motion.
I have a second and a half. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. We have an agenda. The first item on our agenda is public comment. We do this twice at each of our meetings. For those who might not know, once now and once at the end of the meeting. If there's anybody out there, let's see the gears turning. I'd like to step up and mention, I have a blank sheet of paper here, so no one has signed up. Going once, going twice. You'll have one more chance at the end of the meeting for public comment. First up is our presentation on the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 21-22. We got a big award. I'm excited to say. Oh, looking for props.
Video presentation.
Aha, video.
Take a second.
Good evening. My name is Emily Mills, and I'm a partner with Potter & Company. I am pleased to appear before you this evening to present the town's annual comprehensive financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. First, let me thank you for allowing our firm to perform this service for the town. Second, let me commend the work of the finance office of the town. Beverly, Angel, and the entire staff of the town were helpful, professional, and wonderful to work with. Each member of the finance department should be highly commended for their efforts. On page 1 of your financial statements, you will find our independent auditor's report. We have issued an unmodified opinion on the statements of the town of Kill Devil Hills as of June 30th, 2022. An unmodified report is the highest level of assurance that we as independent auditors can issue and states that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the town at June 30th, 2022. This is commonly referred to as a clean opinion. In addition to the independent auditor's report, we have also issued a group of reports on the town's compliance. These reports are found in the compliance section of the financial statements starting on page 167. These reports deal with the town's compliance with governmental auditing standards in addition to the compliance of its federal and state programs with various federal and state laws and regulations. We noted no findings that we consider to be significant deficiencies or material weaknesses. The LGC changed the audit process last year. They added a sheet to the data input worksheet that benchmarks units against their peers and identifies any issues with the unit's health or from the audit. We are happy to report there are no indicators of concern per this worksheet. The town is in a very healthy position and is exceeding its peers per LGC benchmarks. The financial statements were submitted to the LGC and approved by the LGC on December the 8th. The balance sheet information for the general fund can be found on page 24. At the end of year, June 30th, 2022, the town's general fund had a cash balance of $20 million and restricted cash balance of $4 million. The general fund's total fund balance was $29 million. Of this amount, $16 million was unassigned for any specific purpose. The revenues and expenditures for the general fund are summarized on page 26. The general fund reported $25 million in revenues, $21 million in expenditures, and $3.7 million from other financing sources. This resulted in an increase to fund balance of $7 million. The statements for the water and wastewater activities begin on page 30. These funds resulted in a combined increase of $1.5 million for the year. Again, we would like to thank the town for the opportunity to be of service.
Very good. Yeah, big thanks for everybody in finance for all the work that goes into being audited. Always a joyful part of the job. Yeah, some more to add.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Beverly has a
presentation.
report.
Oh, yes, great.
Are there any questions so far for the auditor? Okay,
None.
do I have a clicker? I haven't done this in a long, long time. Go ahead, I click. All right, first of all, I would like for you to notice our cover. Huh?
Great Photoshop
Aim for your
skills.
head.
Mhm.
All right, I want you to notice our cover and all the furry faces that you may have seen at the town hall from time to time or playing in the park. We love this cover because it's dedicated to Mary Elizabeth Quiddley, longtime town clerk for the town of Kilroy Hills, and she was here in her position for 37 years. Gratifying to her was the Paws Park. June 2019 and was renamed Paws Park in February of 2022 in her honor. And I'm just going to go through a kind of a quick presentation, a summary, hopefully pictorial, that you can see of revenues, et cetera, during the year. Aim for her head. To the right. There we go. Now this goes. So as you read through your document, as I'm sure all of you will, you'll see net position, total net position. This is one indicator of a government's financial condition, much like a business enterprise. So the total net position is 68.5 million. Governmental net position is 43.9, and enterprise is 24.5. Net position in a graph, so you can see how it's gradually increasing over time. Thank you. You're doing it for me.
Just hold it up and pretend like
Okay, thank you. All right, as you heard Emily say, the general fund unassigned fund balance is 16.2 million. The 16.2, that's 74.1% of the fiscal year 2022 expenditures. But looking forward at your target fund balance, it's actually 58.2 of the budget that we're in now. Going a little bit further, taking that a little bit further, she also mentioned 29 million, most of which, or well, not most, but part of which is restricted. We cannot, it's 7.67 million is restricted. Capital reserve funds are 3 million. Those are restricted by the capital reserve ordinances. And then what was appropriated in the 2023 budget is 2.3 million, leaving 16.2 total, but your working capital fund balance policy is 35%. So we maintain the 9.7 million as a fund balance, but according to your fund balance policy. So really the remaining fund balance is 6.5. If 35% is good and then we don't need to change that policy, we might need to look into it. That's roughly about 4 months worth of expenditures. If that's enough. Okay. So as over time, the fund balance policy, obviously that's the 74 of, it's a percentage of the current year that we were in, finished percentage. And that's how the trend is over the past 5 years. The revenues from the primary revenues for the general fund, obviously there's ad valorem tax and the MSD and the light blue, and then the occupancy and sales tax. That makes up two-thirds of the total revenues. Other revenues are debt financing, grants and unrestricted, which are in the lighter shade. Yep, debt financing with the grants are in the 11%. Debt financing is in 6%, and the 9% is all other revenues. The primary expenditures for the year, again, it's about a third of general government, which is administration, finance, planning, buildings and grounds, public safety, fire, police, ocean rescue. This just shows you where the money was spent. Okay, and this is our budgeted revenues against actual revenues. And as she said, this also includes other financing sources. And other financing sources means the fund balance appropriation, debt financing, and I think we had a sale of some land. So as you see, because we had excess revenues, we really did not need to utilize the $3 million fund balance appropriation. And expenditures, that's good enough. Expenditures were under budget. No, we're good. All right, so the expenditures were under budget as well. So contributing to the increase in the fund balance. Okay. Assessed value of property, and it says in millions, but you can look at that and say that's 3.5 billion, and that's the town's assessed value is at 3 billion. Okay, sales tax revenues. Again, you can see that the progression of the revenues in 2020, they were a little bit low. In 2021, we had a 31% increase over 2020. And then in 2022, we had a 13% increase over 2021. That's both that little purple shaded is the MSD portion that we segregate in our sales tax. Okay, occupancy tax. Again, you can see 2020 was a bit off, and then in 2021 we had a 54% increase in occupancy tax, and then again in 2022, an 8% increase over 2021. Land transfer tax. That just tells the story.
Yeah, that tells the story.
That tells the story. This year we budgeted for $1 million. I think we will. This is 1.7 million. Well, almost 1.8 million in 2022. Not quite touching. 8%, 8.5% over the 2021, and then it was 128% over 2020.
Slowing down.
Yeah.
That is.
Okay, and then some other information. We've financed. We finance our fleet on an annual basis. We finance 1.367 million for police vehicles and backhoe, dump truck, and 3 garbage trucks during the year. Again, the debt at this time, installment borrowing, that's mostly those equipment purchases. The direct placement installment borrowing is for beach nourishment. Of the 4.2 million, 3.6 is FEMA money that would hopefully be returned to us soon.
Yeah.
And then and there is some debt in the water fund. It's a zero interest installment note, and the balance is 22,000. All right, some other major things that happened during the year were street and drainage projects. This is money spent during the year. Multi-use paths, sidewalks, Meekins Field, beach nourishment was a big one for the year. The pavilion at Aviation Park, and completing the Moore Shore access. And then one notable thing, a major initiative, is we sold land at the 8th Street corner for $1.5 million. Again, during the year, there's another major initiative, a grant project budget ordinance to record the special revenue fund for the American Rescue Plan, ARPA money. We received the first tranche in 2022. We will get the second tranche in we have in this fiscal year, and that might be a good topic for budget guidance discussion going forward. Major initiatives in the water fund is the 3rd Street projects at $1.3 million, the Dare County KDH interconnection, $55,000, and the water system master plan for $111,000. Here's a picture of water fund revenues to budget. And they're kind of on point, pretty much. And then as well as the budget and the expenditures, actual expenditures. Okay, same for the wastewater fund. And then we have we've had an outstanding loan between the wastewater and the water fund for years, and that we've been working that down over time, and it's currently at $450,000. And I think that's it for that. And then the last thing I'd like to do is, unless there's questions, any other questions? I'm going to present the 34th consecutive Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. It's our 34th certificate.
That's great.
And as you know, this is a prestigious award, recognizes conformance with the highest standards for preparation of state and local government financial reports. I want to thank Angel and Charlene and the finance department for they actually did all the work. And this is for the 2021 fiscal year. This is the 2022 fiscal year, so it's for 1 year only. But we really think this one's going to get it as well. So anyway, I want to thank you for your continued support of this program, and thank you guys too.
Excellent job,
Thank you.
excellent. Very good.
No questions?
Great presentation. Really
Yeah.
hit all the highlights that we like to see. Yes. You get how we like to roll around here. Efficient. We like to be efficient. But yeah, great numbers. Really impressed with everybody that's involved in keeping those expenses down from, we budgeted certain numbers that came in way below. That's always nice to see. We definitely had some wind to go our direction with FEMA and other things. It's a tough budget year to look at as coming up, what we're going into. Things are changing. So again, thank you for all your hard work and having your finger on the pulse for all that. Thanks to the whole team and all the department heads that work with them. Any other comments from the board?
Excellent job, always.
And yeah, we share your pride and thank you for working so hard and getting the 34th, and we're working on the 35th. All right, let's see what's on our agenda here. Moving on, we talked at the previous meeting about electronic speed recording devices, and we got some things in your packet. Thank you very much, Chief. So we've got some items to talk about there briefly. I think you guys saw this memo. Some recommendations there about places that are most likely to see the benefit. I might be able to change some behaviors for some of the people that were worried about speeding around the town. So was there a presentation, or we just open it up for discussion? Or
Unless you had any questions, the chief or myself.
I think you covered it pretty well, but if anybody had any questions about it, I guess these, just for the public, these devices are kind of the state of the art. They talk to the internet and allow us to get the data without having a whole lot of manpower be expended to go out and do it in person, as they say. In the old days, you had to go download the stuff off of it and swap out batteries, and these are solar powered, web enabled, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully very efficient use of our tax dollars to get the benefit that we're looking for, which is public safety in the West Side neighborhoods.
I want to ask, how do you take, all right, so the signs themselves obviously have their own effect on the driver to slow them down, you hope. What do you do with, what do you think you'll do? What would you envision doing? What do you do with the data if you see that it, regardless of the sign, it's still a problem, or it's an anomaly, and there's still issues in that area? Are you going to use that data? Like, would you envision using that data to help you make decisions on how to put your resources in certain spots?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's part of the plan, is that, these signs give us an indication of where there's a problem, if there's a problem, and then we can, send officers out there to run radar and enforce it.
Right. And they're easy to move around, I assume.
Well, I wouldn't say easy, because, and we haven't had these particular signs, the solar signs, before. So obviously they have the solar panel there to charge the battery. So it's a little bulky, but not impossible to move. And the first, with these signs, the first year is free web-based. So we don't have to pay for the cloud the first year. They got a 2-year warranty. The battery life is about 10 to 12 years. So, but, that's in normal circumstances. We got something with salt air, affects.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you haven't. I'm not exactly. I don't see exactly where you sit. Give your opinion on this, but do you just think that it? Do you think that it's going to be a significant assist to the police department?
I think the bigger question is it going to have an effect on the violators, on the people that the speed.
Right.
That's probably going to be the biggest effect.
Okay. So it's that effect, and a secondary benefit for you to use the data, analyze data, and potentially allocate resources to certain spots or to certain type of things, like versus traffic versus other type of patrol or other type of
Yes, sir.
services.
People are creatures of habit. I imagine that, if you've got somebody that speeds down that road at 432 every day, you could have some actionable intelligence, as it were.
Sure.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Like, if it was just a box, I don't know if it'd be worth it. But if it really has the data is really going to help, make decisions, help you make decisions, specifically, and that's going to make a difference too. Then maybe those two things together make it make sense for this expense.
I also like the A/B test too. That I've heard that you can run these things without the sign being on. It just collects data, doesn't have that feedback, because there is kind of two parts of it. There's the data that you collect, and then there's that, psychological. You're driving along, you're thinking about what's on the radio, you post it up to 30 miles an hour, don't realize it, and then the thing flashes at you. And that'll change your behavior. So you can run it for a couple weeks and not give the feedback, and then run it for the next 2 weeks with it and probably see the data change.
That's right. Yes, sir.
I know we have some speed detection devices now that are deployed when complaints come in. I've seen them around before. How many of those do we actually have on hand now?
We have 2 that's in service now. We had a total of 4. And we started buying them 12 years ago. So the first one that we bought, obviously, is the computer stopped working and the battery stopped holding the charge and everything. The second one fell in the water during the hurricane, during the storm, and got damaged. And so the two newest ones, they and the thing about those signs, they're a little cheaper, $4,500, I think, is what we pay for them. But they cost more manpower because we have to have an officer go out there, keep it charged, go out there, change the battery, bring it back here to the police department, charge the battery, carry it back out there, actually go manually download the data from it. And so we've only got two. So we move them periodically. So it's a lot of man hours spent moving those signs around and keeping the batteries charged.
Have you heard
And they're not solar powered like these are.
Have you heard any other police chiefs in other areas thinks that these are make opinions about these boxes?
I have not.
Okay.
I know Southern Shores. There's one at Southern Shores that they have operational, and
I think they have a couple. I think they might have 2 or 3.
Definitely have one on 12.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's
And
a
then
couple
one on
back
Dog-
in.
There's one on
Chicago.
Dogwood
Yes.
as well.
Yeah.
Right at the
Yeah.
top of not far past the school.
we
Yeah.
checked with Chief Hale from Nags Head, and they operate speed trailer. That's kind of all they've got a speed trailer that they move around from place to place.
They like that. They think it works. They use the data. What about it? Do they
Well,
like?
I got some data from Chief Hill and from before they changed the speed limit to after they changed the speed limit. And the data pretty much mirrors our data, just less vehicles. So, and it didn't change much.
What about this expense versus adding like another officer? Maybe there was designated design. That officer was assigned to just doing speeding tickets. I don't know. What about the cost of this versus adding another officer?
I think that's apples and oranges, and I don't think it would suffice, because if we were to hire another officer, we're still going to have speeding complaints, and people say we're not where they want us to be when they want us to be there. And so I don't think that would
This
necessarily
allows us to
solve the
make a
problem.
difference in 5 different places for 10 years,
Yeah.
where the same amount of money would hire
At
one
a tenth of
officer
the
for 1
cost.
year.
Right.
But what do you
right.
say when I read comments and public comments about it, that it's an enforcement issue? What would you say to that? Like it's just the speed's there, it's not being enforced. What would you say to that?
Well, I would say that I've heard we've gotten the same complaints, and it's just not true, because we can show that we've been in the neighborhoods on 3rd Street particularly,
Yeah.
enforcing it, and the same people that are saying we're not there for weeks at a time, it's just not true, because we have tickets
To
with
prove it,
dates
yeah.
and times that we were there.
Yeah.
So
Have you? And it seems that you have, because I've seen it. Have you upped your patrol on these streets that you identified here in this? You have
Yes, sir.
recently,
yes, sir.
and that was your directive.
Well, before we even started talking about that, when the first complaint came in, we started, going more enforcement out there.
Okay.
It's
Because I think what we're struggling with is, I used to talking to everybody here, or a few people, is the expense versus the will it make a difference? Is the expense worth the
Juice worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
Squeeze worth the juice somehow.
cost benefit analysis?
yeah.
Simple.
Do you have a designated traffic control unit or no?
No, sir.
Have we ever had one?
Yes, sir.
It didn't work or what?
We just don't. We don't have the manpower to do it. To have a designated. We tried it, and then we started breaking the unit up to cover shifts that, night shifts or when somebody was on vacation or sick or whatever. And it just didn't work.
Typically, how many officers do you have on a shift?
Mandated 2.
So if one gets tied up with like a DUI or something like that, you lose him for 4 or 5 hours,
At
so you've
least
only
4
got
or 5
one.
hours, yes. Normally, we can have 3 on a shift, but, you know, and it's a good problem to have. The longer people stay, the longer employees stay here, the more time they build up, vacation and sick and everything, and they take that time. So then we have to cover that shift. It's a good problem to have, but, you know,
Manpower,
yeah.
It makes it tricky.
Commissioner Ingram, did you have a question? I don't.
My question was actually BJ's question
Okay.
about the other towns, because I know I've seen them, you know, in different places, and if you go outside of here, I mean, they're everywhere. If you know, the signs are they're in Raleigh, they're in Greensboro, they're in a lot of places, and so that just tells me that they must somewhat work. If they're,
Well,
I
it's
mean, I don't know.
psychological. You know, some people
Yeah.
it's psychological too. You know,
Yeah.
Pete stood up here
Absolutely.
and gave a great story of him going to church and, you know, he and not thinking, and he's going over the speed limit, sees the sign, and, you know,
Right.
so it's psychological
Mhm.
to some people.
They're awfully expensive because they're what, 54,000 to buy them?
To buy 10 of them, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to buy 10 of them.
Yes.
And then you've got additional 30,000 in maintenance,
2 years.
if I read it right.
well, $1,500,
1,500.
not for the maintenance, $1,500 per sign per year. For
Times
the
10 would be 15,000,
access to
right?
Data.
to have it, yes.
Seems like a lot of money to me.
So
It's a pretty high subscription rate, yeah,
So
Yeah.
15,000 a year subscription.
for 10 of them.
Yeah, for 10. Yeah, I
But
mean,
you only get-
that's what these,
And you only
Totally.
get 5 streets because in order for them to be effective, they only,
you have to have two, one,
yes,
Each
one
way,
eastbound
yeah.
and one westbound. So they get both lanes of traffic,
more
you
so
only have-
than, go ahead.
5 streets covered.
More so than how long do they last? Aren't they at a particular time deemed obsolete?
Well, they've got a computer in there, so, you know, and that's what happened to our first generation of signs, that they just, the support was not there for them anymore. They stopped making that model.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah.
How often does that happen? Do you know any type of
I don't know.
frequency or?
I don't know, Commissioner. I'd have to look that up for you.
Got 2-year warranty though. Good for 2 years anyway.
2 years, yeah.
2 years they'll replace it if it goes out. I think that's how that goes. right?
And so we get the first year of
Data's free.
data free. These signs would work with the manual download as well. So that's an option of just not getting the data information anymore. It would still cost man hours to go out there and download manually. But, you know, the savings would be the solar power. We wouldn't have to, you know, charge the batteries all the time. So that could be a cost saving there.
Maybe it's more for discussion of the board, but you know, it just seems like maybe, I don't know, instead of 10, maybe 4 of these and see how it works or something like that. You know, just you know, it's an idea.
That's up to you guys.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I mean,
I'm not for it or against it.
10, 20, 2, you know, I guess, you know, we don't.
There's something
you
to
know.
be said to spread these kinds of costs out to, like if you have a hotel,
Yeah.
you got 1,000 beds, you try to
Buy food
replace
every
a third
year.
of them every year if you're
Yeah.
going to do it on 3 years. Same deal. If we wanted to have 10, maybe we want to buy
And it may.
a couple of years.
See how it goes.
See how
may
it
be
goes.
helpful just to buy a couple and to see if we like them, see if they're effective, to see,
Mm-hmm.
you know. and
There's
put them
no
on
big
Third
bulk
Street.
discount or anything
Hold
like
up,
that.
yeah.
So
Well,
this
that,
is discounted a little bit. based on the
discount a
10.
little bit, yes.
Yeah, okay. But not much. 320. Okay. Yeah, it's not much.
My thought is that this is probably something that we could discuss during budget.
Yep.
My next question would be, as expensive as an item as it is, have we looked at the grant possibilities for them?
There are currently no, we've looked at some grants, and the only grant that's out there right now is for LPRs, license plate readers. And we've been researching that a little bit, but it's not a 100% grant. It's a matching grant, so I don't.
I'd rather see, the grant possibility survey to see if there is anything more so than maybe what you've seen. And, it seems like to me that anytime you could save taxpayers dollars, it's ahead of the game, so.
Sure. Yeah.
But my thought is, I think we need to look at it at budget time, and a lot of money.
Yeah, well, hey, you brought the topic to us. We've had citizens in here speaking to us, so.
And the thing I gather out of it is, everybody seems to think that more enforcement, but then again, if that's going to require, personnel. So, but I think enforcement is a big part of it.
Yep, I recall we had 50 tickets in a year on the west side. Is that right? Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, thank you so much for the details. We definitely have a lot to chew on. We really appreciate you doing the homework for us and giving us some insight about it. It's challenging. One of those challenges we keep gnawing on. We'll figure a way forward.
Yes, thank you.
Like you said, there's a lot of ways to spread it out budget-wise, and there's a lot of ways to dip your toe in or go big, whichever we kind of feel like we have the appetite for. Any other discussion about?
I kind of like the idea of looping it back into our budgetary process, because there's more time to kind of think about it, and there may be other things that pop up between now and then, like license plate readers that deserve consideration for investment as well. So that's a good time and place to revisit.
All right. If there's not urgency, we can definitely put it in the cycle. That seems to be the consensus. Of the board.
Maybe we can get some kind of report from the other towns on how many they have
Yeah.
and what kind of results they have.
That's
That might be
also
good
a
to have.
idea too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great discussion, guys. Appreciate that. And thanks again, Chief, for the insights. Next item is new business. We have a seat on the planning board that's coming open. The member, I think, has expressed interest in being reappointed. And unless someone had some other ideas, let me know.
Becky does a good job.
All right.
I think she has too. I'd move that we reappoint Becky Breholtz to the planning board.
Super. We have a motion on the floor and
I'll second.
a second over here. Any further discussion about Becky? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Congratulations to Becky if you're listening. We appreciate your service, and thanks for doing it for another 3 years for us. Next up is committee reports. Anything from the Visitors Bureau since last we met?
I have a meeting tomorrow morning. I feel like I always
It's always
have a
like the
meeting. I
next
know
day.
it's always the next day. January 24th, there is a long range planning meeting at the Ramada Inn at, I
6
believe,
p.m.
6 p.m. So if anyone's interested in coming out to that, it would be great to have your feedback.
Yep, we're doing one down in Hatteras as
so-
well.
Yes, one down in Hatteras. That's it.
Is that, all right. Any other committee reports?
No.
John, no?
The
Got something on the
CAC, we have a meeting on the books the Thursday the 26th at 8:30 in the morning.
26th. That's a Thursday.
Thursday morning in this.
Open to the public. Anybody interested in new ideas for beautification? I'm ready for another spring to come around. The days are getting longer. I like to say this time of year. Doesn't feel like
Sue
it.
does a much better job at talking about the CAC than I do. I always got to miss her when she's not here, but yes, we can reconvene on the 26th.
All right, we'll have a great meeting. Always bummed to miss those. Pesky job of mine. Let it go. All right, next up is Commissioner's Agenda. Anybody want to start?
I've been working on a committee with the Dare County veterans. And I think, what was the date you said that Wally had indicated they were going to do a presentation? February the 13th, we're going to be getting a presentation from Commissioner Overman from the Dare County Board,
Okay.
highlighting the work that's been done. It's the wall that heals, and it's a replica of the Vietnam Veteran Wall.
Yes.
It's going to be coming to the event site
Oh,
in November of this year, and
okay.
it's going to be a pretty big show, I think. So, other than that, that's all I have, sir.
All right. Super.
Just commend the town on the cleanup on the December 23rd storm that happened. It affected a lot of people, sound side, and picking up the trees, of course, Christmas trees like they always do. And of course, I've actually spent a little time at the recycling center of late. And Candy and that group does a really good job over there. I just want to say thank you to them too. So.
Excellent. Excellent.
I just wanted to say thank you for all the effort in the holiday markets and the town with the decorating. I took my dog to the park right before Christmas, like 2 or 3 days before Christmas at 8:00 at night. And I looked around and there was no less than 50 people in the park. And there was no event going on. It was just people using the park. There was probably 20 or 30 skateboarders. There was 20 people on the roller rink. There was a group of 10 or 12 adult couples walking around the park, taking pictures in the Santa seat. So it just was really cool to see that, especially on a night that there wasn't a big function happening. So it's very cool to see it getting used. And
It's a lot of good use.
it really does. Yeah.
And I think those events have really made that happen because
Yes.
those events exposed it to
Sure.
people who forgot it was there or didn't know it was there.
Right.
And
Right.
it's also
Right.
looking really good thanks to Buildings and Grounds. And
Yes.
the guys have done a fantastic job limbing up trees and keeping it beautiful. And the Christmas lights were out of this world this year. Really fantastic.
I want to echo Commissioner McAvoy's sentiment around the recycling center because I'm a frequent customer of theirs, and like one of my first impressions of going there, I made the mistake of putting something in the wrong place.
That'll happen.
You don't want to cross Candy.
Do not.
She does a wonderful
Wonderful
job keeping things organized and
Ship.
smoothly running. And
Yes,
and
yes.
that dedication and hard work is, you'll learn quick if you stay. So in a polite and professional way.
Yes.
And another thing I noticed, I saw some really positive social media activity around this golf course around the holidays, especially
Yes.
like people talk about how busy it is. Well, hold on a second. Let's see if they're really that busy.
Yeah.
So I rode out there a couple times and it was
They were that busy.
overrun with cars.
Wow.
I mean, their parking lot's full, Camp Salt's full, backed up. So tremendous activity and just going on back there. So it's really all of our recreational resources being well utilized. So nice job.
Yes. Thank you for all of that. One of the best things about being mayor is get to go last because they do all my hard work for me. Thanking everybody. So I reiterate all that was said. Thanks to all the departments, all the work that's been done. We've had a really, really great year. I've joked a number of times at these meetings that there's something weird about the fact that the first 2 years I was mayor, we were wearing masks.
Right.
And so I don't think about masks anytime the rest of the month. And then I get out of my car and go, what is happening? So yeah, it's nice to have that in the rear view, and we've really done a lot with. I really think the community has come together, and the staff has always worked well together and done great things, but really outdone themselves in the last year. In so many ways, you can't even count it. So, thanks to everyone for all you do. Let's see here, town manager's agenda.
Just to remind the board that we do have a meeting next Wednesday, January the 25th, and we were hoping to use that opportunity for some budget guidance and just to start reviewing with the board some of our thoughts and getting some guidance from you. So that'll be on the 25th of January at 6 o'clock. And at this point, that's the only thing on the agenda, so hopefully it won't be a very long meeting.
Super. Looking forward to that. Just realized I think I might have double booked myself. The other people have to live without me. Alrighty. So next item is the town attorney's agenda. Anything, sir?
Happy New Year's, guys. Looking forward to 23. So that's it.
Thank you for that. Happy New Year to you too. Let's see, consent agenda.
Yes, sir. Consent agenda, we have the minutes from December the 12th, 2022, monthly report, November 2022, budget amendment number 5, which appropriates salaries, appropriate funds for salary increase directed by the Board of Commissioners. The annual certification of firefighters is number 4. This is our fire department has prepared this list, which includes only those firefighters that have met the state's minimum requirement for training hours. And approval of the consent agenda will record the board certification of the roster. Number 5 is a recommendation for the audit services for fiscal year 2023 and continuing services through 2025. We're recommending the Potter and Company. The folks that are currently doing our audit had a really good relationship with them, and approval of the consent agenda would authorize the manager to execute the contractual agreement for the services for fiscal year 2023 and to approve the firm's continuation of services to the town through June 30th, 2025. Those dates are hard to say. Recordation of continual approval of the Wright Brothers US 158 Phase 4 sidewalk project. This was action that was done to the board so that we could continue and keep that on schedule. And approval of the consent agenda will record the board's action in the minutes of this meeting. Staff recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented, and a motion would be in order.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay?
Thank you.
Thank you for the consent agenda. We appreciate that. That brings us to our second opportunity for the many, many folks of the public that are here with pitchforks to tell us how they feel. I want to pitchforks today. We get all the fun out of it. All right, last chance for public comment. Okay, we'll close public comment, which leaves us down to one motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
All in favor?
All in
All
favor?
in favor, say aye. Okay.
Making sure I wasn't moving.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere. And
Try
Meredith's got
to
to
slide that one in there. Robert's Rules of Order.
Just got to enforce.
Right, keep